And we welcome you to Dodgers Daily, where this afternoon we have a very, very, very special guest that you see on your screen. Right-handed relief pitcher in the Dodgers organization, Antonio Knowles, joins Dodgers Daily. So, Antonio, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.
All right, awesome, man. Really cool story. You grew up in a really cool place, Key West, which is, it's a stretch of highway about 120 miles south of Miami, and you go through all the Florida Keys to get to Key West. So you got to grow up in a really cool place. Then you got to play in one of the most legendary high school baseball programs in the United States of America. So talk about, first of all, growing up in Key West and getting to play for the Enriquez family, Ralph Enriquez, there at Key West.
Growing up in Key West is definitely something that I wouldn't trade for the world. I mean, there's a saying down here that all the locals say, we live where you vacation. So it's definitely a very nice place to grow up, always having the ability to just, if you're ever kind of in a down mood or need a little get up, you can just head over to the beach, kind of get out there in nature, enjoy that a little bit. And that's always something that's kind of helped me always keep a good mood and just put me in a good mental spot. So I would say that is just one of the many benefits of living down here. Another thing, the community is just so close with everybody. So like once I got drafted and was with the Dodgers, there was just so much support from back home of just people congratulating me, telling me like I've made them proud to just keep putting on for the city type thing. And that's just one of the things that I would say growing up in this small island is just something that I never want to take for granted, is just having that constant support of just the community behind me has been something that's I've always been thankful for.
And one thing that I've noticed this year getting to cover your season there with Great Lakes is that support is every single day. And they follow you even to this day, just like if you were in high school, don't they?
Yeah, they keep up with me. I mean, when I came back here for break, just going out in different places just to eat or getting groceries and seeing people and them just always stopping to say congratulations, like I'm killing it, I'm doing great. So it's just always good to have those positive words always behind you with your community, and it helps a lot with just keeping going when things get tough.
So I got to ask you, I've never been to Key West, and you go through all the Florida Keys to get down there from Miami. So take us through that drive, first of all. That's got to be really cool, huh?
So yeah, after you get past the Homestead area, you hit this area of the Everglades called the 18-mile stretch. And after that is when you're officially into the Florida Keys. And then from there, it's kind of just one road highway. And the whole time you're going down, you're going over 30, 40 different bridges that are connecting each little island. And the views you just get when you ride down, a lot of times, if you come like during the sunset, the locals will get mad because the tourists will start to go slow because the views of the sunset on the ocean are just so beautiful that they just want to watch it. So like just coming down, it's just a really peaceful drive the whole way down, and just being able to see like how everything's kind of put together through the Florida Keys. It's just a really special thing.
So do you have to fly into Miami and then drive down to Key West, or can you fly straight in?
You could fly straight into Key West, but it's a very, very small airport. Yeah. So what a lot of people do is that's what they do. They go to Miami and then they'll just end up driving down. I think there's only 4 or 5 total gates in the Key West airport. So you can imagine there's not many flights going in and out. But yeah, for the majority of the part, you drive up to Miami and then you just drive back down to the Keys. It's only like, I want to say 2, maybe 2.5 hour drive. So it's nothing too bad.
So how many high schools are there in Key West?
There
Several.
is Key West High, and then there's one other, like I want to say it's like a disciplinary school, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
But the main one, there's only really one high school, and that's Key West High. And that's where everybody goes. All your friends moms and dads and aunts and uncles all went to the same high school, all graduated. So it's a nice thing to have that down here.
So you had to, every time you played a high school baseball game, I'm assuming you had to drive up into Florida, the Miami area probably, to play your high school games?
So speaking on how good the Conch's baseball program is, I'm sure if you've looked it up, it's been for
11 state titles,
many years. Yeah, it's been one of the powerhouses in Florida for baseball, and this community really, really like pushes baseball. So I remember my senior year, we played a playoff game, and we had 2,800 people at the playoff game in Key West.
Very nice.
Yeah, so my senior year also talking about going up to Miami. We only had 3 away games because of how crazy crazy that environment is. All the Miami teams want to drive down here
very neat.
to put their players in that type of like environment around fans being away to just get that experience. So I think I actually played 27 total games and 24 were at home my senior year.
That's very cool.
So it's something that, like, unless you're here, it's hard to really explain the environment and how much the people really care for conch baseball, but it's definitely something very, very special to me.
So obviously you had an incredible career. We mentioned that your high school program, Ralph Enriquez, the whole Enriquez family, very famous for high school baseball, 11 state titles, an amazing program. You were one of the better pitchers. 27th round, you get drafted, you choose to turn that down, and you have offers from Florida State and other different colleges. So you choose Stetson. So take us through that process.
So actually during that time, coming up to the draft, I was committed to a junior college and I had no Division I offers.
Oh, really?
So when I got drafted, after the draft, probably like 2-3 hours is when those like 3 or 4 major D1 offers came in. So I kind of only had like a week where I went up and I saw all the different colleges, got my offers or whatever. And then when I came back home, I remember telling my parents that Stetson felt the most like home because it was that like small town. Baseball was really like center focused in that town. That was all that kind of was going on there. And I was like, I just felt like that was the best place and academically one of the best academic schools in the country. So for me, it was like, if baseball doesn't work out, I could always fall back for academics. But after my first year there, I realized that baseball was something that I had a chance in and I was really good at. That's why I went to the junior college route where I would be able to play more. And it ended up working out in my favor.
Yeah, no doubt. I assume you met Robbie Pito in your 1 year there at Stetson?
Yeah, so actually, funny story. Me and Pito, his roommate, I used to go over to his house basically every single day.
Okay, very cool.
So he was one of the first people when I got drafted to the Dodgers who reached out to me and told me congratulations, welcome to the best organization in baseball. And it was just actually really cool to be able to go somewhere where I had that friendship bond with somebody already who I had met previously, who was like, he kind of helped me through a lot of just learning the ways of how the Dodgers work and how pro ball works. So it was just really nice to be able to have that with Pito, that friendship that I was able to reach out and ask him anything and not have to worry about it.
Very, very cool. So after 1 year at Stetson, you transfer to Southwestern Junior College, pursuing I don't think people realize you go to a junior college because at a Division I college, you have to wait till at least you're 21 or 3 years into college to be drafted again. Obviously, you've been drafted once. If you go to JUCO, you can leave anytime you want. So that's very attractive. You go to Southwestern Junior College there in Fort Myers. I've been to Fort Myers. I have good friends that live there. Awesome place on the earth. So take us through the decision to go there, obviously, and then getting drafted again.
So the decision to go there was actually after my freshman year at Stetson. I didn't get as much playing time as I wanted to. So obviously I just wanted to go somewhere where I thought I could get playing time and be able to show my capabilities of what I can do on the mound.
Yeah, they were pretty stacked at that point. They had just beaten Oklahoma State in a regional the year before, I believe, that you got there.
Yeah, we were a very loaded team with pitching as well. And that coach who went to Florida Southwestern, he was actually at Broward Community College, and that's where I originally was committed to before I got drafted in high school. So after the season ended at Stetson, I reached out to him and was like, hey, coach, I know like everything happened throughout high school, but I was looking to transfer to JUCO and was wondering if you would have a spot for me. And he, of course, like, we recruited you in high school. We'll have you back now. And honestly, his transition from Broward to FSW, the facilities over there at Florida Southwestern are just, for a junior college, you can't compete with it. I mean, we're playing in a big league stadium, basically spring training stadium every single day. We had all the tools that we needed to get better. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer choice to go there, just work as much as I can, and hopefully get on the field and show everybody what I was capable of.
And I'm sure one of his first questions for you was, hey, as long as you still have that slider that you throw, you're welcome on campus anytime. But hey, another light moment here. You know, you grew up in Key West, a tropical environment, and then you went to Stetson, which is in DeLand, Florida. Then you went to Fort Myers, another tropical climate. Then last year, here we are playing in April in Midland, Michigan. I mean, I got to admit, man, I told Chubb this and I talked to him. I'm the softest human being on earth when it comes to cold weather baseball. I hate it. So take us through that transition for you.
That was definitely like life-changing experience, to say the least. I actually told Pito after like the first 2 weeks, I was like, hey, man, I know you're from Jersey. I've gained a different level of respect for you Northeast kids having to deal with this year-round.
You know, he was telling me about a scrimmage that he threw, and it was 17 degrees outside, and he was trying to throw in front of scouts.
How do you do that? It's crazy. But, yeah, definitely was something I've never experienced before, and it was tough that first, like, week or two, mostly just the feeling of when I was pitching, not feeling my hand. I never felt that before.
And especially the way that you like to cut the ball, too. That hard to be hard, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm a big guy to where I like to feel for my grip, especially with the slider. It's a big feel pitch. So for me, that was just kind of a challenge of overcoming, like, all right, I might not have the best feel for all my pitches right now, but go out there, compete with what you have, just be thankful for the opportunity, and if you just work, good things will happen.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, you mentioned how family-oriented Key West is, and you love that. And that's kind of what struck to you about Stetson and the community there. And then when you look at the Dodgers, man, I say it every time I get to talk to guys like you. It is definitely a family atmosphere that they create, especially also the team that you played on this year with the Loons, Austin Chubb. I know he creates a family atmosphere too. So that had to have worked out perfectly as far as your mentality, didn't it, playing for the Loons?
Yeah, I mean, this team that we had this year, even with all the guys who got called up, all the guys who came up to us mid-season, I mean, it wasn't even like a new guy was in the locker room or a guy had left the locker room. Like, everybody was just so close all season, just always doing stuff together, even off the field, hanging out, no matter, like, where somebody was from, language barriers, like, none of that mattered to any of us. We all thought that we were one unit, and I think that was a big reason on why we had such a successful season. It's because it's easy for you to go out there, and when you know the guys next to you have your back and you have their back, it makes playing a lot easier.
Yeah, no doubt.
And I just feel like the chemistry throughout the locker room, definitely for me, it was something that I've kind of never experienced, just seeing that many guys just go to work every single day, working towards the same goal, just pushing each other constantly to get better. Like, the environment was just something that it's very easy to develop and get better when you're working around guys like that.
And you must have liked it because you got off to a great start. You had 12 scoreless outings in a row to start your season. You had a strikeout to walk ratio of 8-1 in July. So obviously you're very comfortable. So take us through your 2022 season, how you felt it went for you.
I would say the start of the year, we were off to a good start. Had a little control problems, which is something that I've never really had before. So that was a little mental bump in the road that I had to try to get over, just not taking my previous outings into next outings. And if I walked one person, just get the next pitch, get the next hitter. So that was something I kind of learned along through like midway of the season. And obviously my first year being in pro ball, never playing this long, even close to this long of a season in my life. It was just definitely a big learning moment for my first year that stuff's going to happen. You're not going to go out there and be 100% lights out every single time. Like that's just baseball, but you can't let that affect your next performance, affect your next pitch, because if you just keep doing that, you just keep building on yourself and eventually it's just going to fall down. Instead of just saying, you know what, I didn't have my stuff today, wasn't there. Let me go back at practice tomorrow. We're going to work on it. And the next time I get out there, it's going to be there.
So you feel like you conquered that this year?
Yeah, I would say towards the end of the season, that was like, especially talking with Dave Anderson, he was a big help of mine this year, just sticking with me mentally and stuff. But yeah, this was the first time that I ever had like a tough stretch, I would say, to where like my stuff just wasn't working. And so I had to learn how to just kind of wipe that away and just get back after it the next day and keep moving.
Yep. So your stuff, obviously, I mentioned the big time slider. It's just a great pitch. If you go to any of my social medias, you can see it over and over. It is a fantastic pitch. Definitely a strikeout pitch. You have the sinker as well that gives you a lot of good movement. So like you mentioned, you're a big field heavy pitcher, and that's because you throw the two seam sinker, which gets a lot of movement. You have to have a good feel of that. You have the big slider, which is a field pitch too, and then obviously your fastball too. So take us through your stuff, where you're at with it, leaving 2022 and then heading into the off season.
So actually going into the off season, we changed from my sinker grip.
Okay.
We're trying to work on a four seam fastball now. So that way I could kind of play that more up in the zone and have the slider tunnel off of that down. So for me, I was kind of getting more feel throwing that four seam and getting a lot comfortable with it. And another thing for me is I felt like it was easier to attack hitters with that and get early in the count strikes compared to trying to like nibble away with the sinker sometimes and missing. So I feel like going into the off season, that's kind of my main focus, is just really developing and getting that four seam spin really good so I could play that top of the zone well. And then another pitch that I added like midway kind of end towards the season was the cutter. And that's something, just watching different videos on how guys throw it and just like different ways that guys approach it has kind of helped me get a better understanding of how I want to throw it. And I just feel like the last like month and a half, I had really, really good feel for my cutter and was liking the movement on it. So I'm very excited going into next season. If I could get this four seam down to where I want it, I think I'll have a true legit 3-pitch mix with my slider being that dominant pitch that I'll be able to have really good results going into next year.
So definitely your slider's a swing and miss type of pitch. There's no doubt about that. And then, so would your cutter be more of a swing and hit type of pitch where you can actually induce some weak contact?
The cutter will be more so for lefties.
Yeah, okay.
That way I have that ball that's running into their barrel and not just the slider that kind of sweeps over their barrel. So for me, that's going to be the pitch that I feel like if I could get that down, it's going to really, really help just pitching to both sides. Because right now I feel like against righties, I have a little more confidence knowing that the slider's going away from them and kind of starts on them to give them awkward looks. But talking with Dave, he was one of the guys who told me like, hey, you should introduce this cutter for lefties. That way you could go early in the count with cutters and then play the slider off of that. So I think trying to do that while still using that four seam up in the zone late is definitely going to help open up not having to use my slider at such a high percentage and being able to kind of use it more in a 1 strike or 2 strike counts. That way hitters don't see it till it's time to put them away.
Very nice. That sounds like a great game plan, and it sounds like you're going to have quite a bit of work to do in your off season here. So take us through what your off season routine is going to be like.
So for right now, I'm actually just down here in Key West working out at a local gym, just trying to get a little bit of weight on.
Man, it's a rough life you're living right now, right? Pitching for the Dodgers and living in Key West and working out. What a rough life you're living right now. Huh?
Yeah. It's definitely nice right now in the off season to be down here. But yeah, I'm just working out, trying to gain some weight. I want to come back next year at around 195 or 200, try to put on a little weight and hope that increases my velo a little bit, maybe helps my arm with a little bit of stress. And then throwing wise, I've just been on the throwing program that's assigned to us and just really, really concentrating on getting that four seam spin to spin like this instead of because I cut it. So it comes out like that sometimes. So that's just been my main focus when I'm throwing every day. It's just been more focus on how the ball's coming out of my hand spin wise more right now than like velo wise. Because I feel like right now it's so early in the off season that I don't really want to be ramping up too crazy and worrying about that more than just worrying about how the ball's coming off of my hand and getting that real good feel for everything.
Yeah, you have a great message for kids. Obviously, you grew up, we've mentioned it, in Key West in a very family-oriented environment. You've played for great coaches, and obviously you've learned all along the way and taken a little bit from here and a little bit from there. And I've heard you talk about how you still use principles from every coach that you've played underneath that you still use today. So for kids that want to become like you and maybe not make AA because not everybody gets to pitch professionally, but at least give themselves the best chance to reach their goals like you have, what would be your message for them?
I would just say never stop working. The one thing for me that really, I would say, helped push me to get where I'm at today is that right there, my dad and my high school coach, Ralph, always drilling into me that even if you're not working, there's somebody out there that is.
Yeah.
So on the days that you think you can take off, there's somebody out there who isn't taking that day off. And I just feel like having that mentality, that mindset of just always going to work. And when you show up to get your work done, you do it at 110%. You don't show up and half effort something and just get by the day, because that's a wasted day at that point. And somebody else took that day to advantage. So I would say the main thing for me to tell kids is just stay focused to your goal. Don't set deals with yourself. Basically like, oh, I'm not going to do this today, but I'll do it tomorrow. You wake up, you have a deal with yourself that you get your work done, and then you could figure out what else you're doing for the rest of the day. So especially for me, that's been something that I've always tried to do is when I wake up in the morning, I want to get right to the field, right to work out. That way I don't have an excuse for not going or for not doing something. So I would just say, just keep working. Always put your foot forward and just never let up.
So when you're not on the baseball field at Key West, when you're not spending time with family, which I know you do quite a bit of, which is totally awesome, what does a guy like you do while you're in Key West with your free time?
Actually, so a lot of my friends are away at college right now. So that's why I've been grateful. I've been able to spend a lot of time with my family, with them being down here and everything. But usually when my friends are down, we like to go out on the boat or on the beach.
Oh, man.
So when I have free time, it's pretty nice to get out there, but we just like getting out on the water, just enjoying that, and being able to get out there every single day is something that I'll never take for granted. So I remember my first week back this off season, my friend took me on the boat. It was me and two of my friends, and I was just sitting on the end of the boat, just smiling. He's like, "What are you so happy about?" And I was like, "Man, I've missed this.
Yeah.
Like, I was away for 8 months, and I hadn't seen any of it, and it's just like nice to come back and just get out on the water, just relax."
Yeah, and
so I would
just
say
decompress, right?
Yeah, it's just beautiful to just be out there, and especially how clear the water is and how calm it is down here in Key West. It's just something that you can never take for granted.
Thank you so much for joining. This was a wonderful privilege for me to get to talk to you. I just thoroughly enjoyed following you this last year in 2022. You have a wonderful career ahead of you. So thank you so much, Antonio.
Thank you so much for having me.